Harris Perry, Sojourner Truth, Mary J. Blige, Viola Davis, Mary Church Terrell, Anita Hill, Valerie Smith, Christina Sharp, Courtney Marshall, my grandmother, my mother, me. Their lives, our lives, attest to the fact that the truth may not always set you free, but telling it ensures that you retain more humanity than your jailers. Thank you.
So we have a generous...
Can we thank her, please?
Yes! Patty, right? Patty. We have a generous 20-minute block now for a nice conversation.
Questions on the floor. The library is open. Down.
It's so wonderful to see people looking at the intersections between race and disability and other minority groups. Why do you think that this discussion is just starting to happen? Like, why hasn't it happened earlier? I mean, it seems to me that everybody, all minority groups, we just don't talk to each other and we don't really understand that we're all going through the same thing.
I think part of it, so my cynical answer is that the Academy is always 20 years behind everybody else. But my real answer is that the residue of the Enlightenment is such that the body-mind split is very much a part of how we conceptualize our lives. So the presence of disability functions as a way not functions as a way, but the presence of disability causes fear. People often will ask questions of disabled folk that are more about the person asking the question than they are about the disability itself. And even when you say it's an incurable condition or there's no hope for a cure, they're like, oh, well, you know, someone will find a way, God will find a way, scientists will find a way. And you're like, yeah, but I'm okay with being who I am. It's just that you're not. And so you have to believe that, right? So disability is always about fear in some ways for people. So that's one reason why disability has not yet come to the fore. And then, you know, so these are kind of my ideological reasons why. Part of the other reason is that the residue of the Enlightenment also had a divide and conquer strategy. So that most people groups want to believe that they are separate because they've been told so, right? And there's rebellions there was one rebellion in 1739 where indigenous Americans were asked to find slaves and bring them back to owners. Right, so that's a very clear moment of divide and conquer strategy. So there's one cynical answer, two ideological answers, and then one practical answer, which is that there's a pipeline issue. You will never get the history of the time that the lions triumphed over the humans until the lions write the story. And so there aren't as many lions. When I say lions, I guess I mean disabled scholars of color, or haven't been historically. And so they're coming through the pipeline and making these issues heard. And as we come up, there's more opening, there's more conversation, and there's more people who are willing to step out on a limb and be an ally. So in some ways, it's a multifold issue. There's the cynical response, which is just kind of the way the Academy works, and there's two, I think, very concrete ideological and cultural reasons, and then there's that one practical issue, which is the issue of pipeline. We didn't really get disabled services at UCLA until there were veterans who were like, dude, I can't hear, I need to be able to get to class, there's no wheelchair access, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that becomes an issue as well. Go ahead, Courtney. Did you have a question?
No, I was not the camera.
Yes.
I'm noticing your choice of text to explicate, and I haven't read that Butler novel, but as Octavia Butler is a sci-fi writer seen from one point of view, is that genre of fiction writing more open, those forms of narrative, more open to theorizing sorts of intersections that you're discussing? And by the way, thank you for your talk. It was really interesting. Yeah.
Now, I would hesitate to say that they're more open as a genre because there's some significant gaps in sci-fi in terms of the way that Black and brown folks are viewed, disabled folks are viewed, the way disability gets kind of shunted aside, like the future is healing. No, it's not. I would say that people are more able to theorize about it because it seems so divorced from our world. So I think there's a way in which scholars and non-scholars can go with you on a journey because it's not real. But the subversive nature of stories is that they stay with you to the point where they become real for you in an everyday situation. I had one student, because I taught this during the spring of last year, and she piped up in class, and this is a student who never speaks. And so I was very excited. And she was also a freshman in a class full of seniors. There was a lot of things going on there. And it was really cool when she was just like, why can we only conceptualize a black woman in power in sci-fi, and she's got to be like not real? And I loved it. It was the question of the semester. But it was also the question that got everyone thinking about why we then read books by Octavia Butler and why they speak to so many people, and then why they change lives, quite frankly. So I think part of it is a moment where science fiction shunts off reality to a point and then allows you to go thinking about why this reality doesn't work and why we create alternate ones. Yeah.
Oh, so I was just thinking about the Hunger Games, you know, and I've got a 12-year-old daughter who's read the books, we've seen the movie, and I'm thinking about this arena. I mean, I loved your talk. It's just really very interesting. So you have, 12 able-bodied children, right? 24, okay. So 24 able-bodied children, and they end up, only one of them, or two of them in this case, end up being able-bodied enough to survive, right? So it's very interesting how able-bodiness becomes disabled-bodiness, right? So maybe I'm just making a comment, making connections, because your talk was so wonderful.
Thank you.
And this is the only Octavia Butler book I haven't read, and now I really want to read it.
It's awesome. Okay, so I became obsessed with the Hunger Games after a friend took me to see the movie. I hated the third book. I didn't really like the second. I think the first one was really the best. And it's true, there's significant attachment to able-bodiedness in the books, to the point where the second book brings back victors. And there's one woman who's 80, who's in the